Happy Biodiversity Week, everybody. My name is Kyle. I'm a Park Interpretive Specialist for California State Parks, and this is your update for Friday, September 11th for our Redwood Bioblitz competition. What is the Redwood Bioblitz competition, some of you may be asking? Well, it is a competition using the iNaturalist app to identify species in both Humboldt Redwood State Park and Prairie Creek Redwood State Park. This is a fun competition. It's going to give us a measure of biodiversity, basically the variety of life between these two parks. We're making it a fun competition. iNaturalist allows anybody, anywhere, to be able to identify things. Just download the app, take a picture of a thing, and it'll tell you what it is. It's pretty magical. It's kind of like Pokemon Go for nature nerds, which I am heavily one. So, please join me, identify things, and check out your parks. You may notice that our video quality is extra excellent. It's because I'm not actually live. We were having a lot of connectivity issues from the place that I am today. But I really wanted to come to you from here because I want to showcase some of the variety of environments that you can find in Prairie Creek Redwood State Park that support such this great biodiversity. I am going to be checking in on this video though, so please still feel free to comment, ask questions and things like that, or root for your favorite park and poo-poo on the other, if you will. So I'm not going to spend too much longer talking around things. Let's go ahead and get to our update. I'm going to talk a little bit about the totals first, our grand totals between the two parks. Then I'll break it down between the two parks, who's winning, who's losing, and then we'll talk about our creature feature for today, our featured organism that has been recently identified or seen within our parks. So, our totals, first of all, we have 1,049 total observations. This was as of this morning, and that went up yesterday from around like 980. So we had a number of new observations come in yesterday. Great. 360 total species as of this morning and 34 total observers. So thank you so much, those of you who are out here in the parks identifying things with us, participating in this competition, and for those of you at home who are checking in on these projects and confirming identifications and all those things, and to everybody who's just keeping up with it. We appreciate you guys. We're having a ton of fun with this, and we hope that you guys are enjoying it as well. I forgot to mention, I'm in Fern Canyon, so I'll show you a little bit more of that later. It's absolutely beautiful. Yesterday I was at the beach. The day before that I was at the prairie. Prairie Creek has such an amazing diversity of these ecosystems. I really wanted to show it off. So I'll show you a little bit of Prairie Creek in just a minute. Our top three species, I want to talk about our top three species that have been seen total between the two projects. So our number one is, of course, the magnificent coast redwood with a total of 24 individual observations. Number two is the tan oak with a total of 20 observations. And tied for third is the evergreen huckleberry and the thimbleberry, both with 17 observations. Our top three observers between the two projects, Bear Tracker is still number one with 357 observations. I think anybody would have a hard time catching that. I'm trying, but it's tough. That's a lot of observations. 357 observations and 104 different species. Great job, Bear Tracker. And number two, we have Griffith. This is a naturalist Griff, or Interpreter Griff. You might see him on some of the other live streams, some of the other biodiversity stuff. He has 101 species with a total of, or 101 observations, with a total of 77 species. Then in third, we have K.M. Slauson with 95 observations and 71 species. Great job, Bear Tracker, Griffith, and K.M. Slauson. You guys are doing awesome in this competition. All right, let's break it down park by park. Who's winning? Well, Bear Tracker, who has 357 observations, is making observations out of Humboldt Redwood. So they do have a lead right now. Yesterday, they had 682 observations. That's gone up today to 712. Prairie Creek, by comparison, yesterday we had 298, and today, or as of this morning, we had 337. So, Prairie Creek is gaining on Humboldt Redwoods. Keep up the momentum, everybody. We can catch them. We will catch them. And remember that we're scoring this competition on two different factors. We're looking at the observations and the number of species. And what really gives us a better idea of biodiversity is this number of species. And Prairie Creek, we are not that far behind in species for Humboldt Redwoods. So maybe we won't catch them for observations, but I think we can catch them for observation, or for species. So let's keep up the good work. Speaking of species, total number of species, Humboldt Redwoods is at 258 species, and Prairie Creek is at 172. So we're not too far behind. We can keep identifying some species. Keep on this iNaturalist app, and those of you at home who are tuning in, check out our iNaturalist projects. I'll put those links in the description, and help us out by confirming some of these identifications. And then our top observers in Humboldt Redwoods is Bear Tracker, again with those 357, and our top observer in Prairie Creek is K.M. Slauson with 95. Top species in Humboldt Redwoods is the coast redwood with 21 observations, and the top species in Prairie Creek is tied between redwood sorrel and tan oak, each with 6 observations. And both are really neat species. I didn't know there was so many tan oaks in the parks until I started playing around with iNaturalist a little bit. And then redwood sorrel, if you've ever been in a redwood sorrel forest, is those little clover-looking things on the ground. Pretty cool. All right, so that's our totals between park by park. Again, Humboldt Redwoods has a little bit of a lead, but come on, Prairie Creek, I think we can catch them. So let's get to our creature feature. Our creature feature today comes from the user Maryar. And this is an organism that you find very commonly at beaches. This is called European Merriam grass or European beach grass. Scientific name is Ammophila arenaria. This is an invasive species of beach grass. Here is a black and white picture of it. If you're down at the beach and you see this kind of a thin, spindly looking grass poking up, pretty commonly that is the European beach grass. This is an invasive species, and this is what they do a lot of removal projects for. So the reason I wanted to highlight it is that, we do volunteer events where you come, help us remove invasive species. This is one of the invasive species that does get a lot of attention. So if you feel like ripping this thing out of the ground, come and volunteer for some of our volunteer events, help us remove some invasive species, and this makes space for the native species to grow. So there's a native species of dune grass as well, called American dune grass, or Lamus mollus is its scientific name. And as the European beach grass comes in, it's invasive, it takes over that habitat and doesn't allow the native beach grass to grow, and doesn't allow a native community of plants to get started, which supports native animals, and and on, so that this is really crowding out space for native things to grow. So it is really important to remove. So if you want to pull some things out of the ground, get rid of some invasive species and help biodiversity, check out some of our volunteer events and help out with those. The way that you can really tell these two apart as well, the European beach grass, this one, has kind of thin, spindly leaves or blades that if you feel them in your finger, they're almost round, where the American beach grass has kind of flat blades, almost like grass. So you can always tell them apart that way. So that is all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for joining me on this pre-recorded one. Let me show you the beautiful Prairie Creek right behind me here. Can I flip the camera around? Maybe I can't. Well, I'll just show you this way. Down there is Fern Canyon. Absolutely beautiful out here. This is kind of a forest ecosystem where we were at the beach yesterday and the prairie the day before that. So just to show you a little bit of the variety of ecosystems we have here. It's incredible. It's beautiful. We hope to see you out in these parks soon. If not for the competition, just to visit and enjoy yourself. It's beautiful out here. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we will see you tomorrow for our next update at 3 o'clock. Hopefully live and not pre-recorded due to connectivity issues. Thank you. Bye-bye.